Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Factorio Masochists Marathon. So, we start episode 18, is it, off with rebuilding the high-tech science pack area, because I made a derp last episode and kind of placed it out slightly wrong. I had it going yellow science pack assembler, copper cable assembler, science pack assembler, copper cable, so on and so forth, which was kind of slightly wrong. It should actually be laid out like this. So one copper assembler feeds two high-tech science packs, not like it was before. This is slightly shorter, but it also matches the ratio much better. Still being slightly out, it needs beacons and modules and stuff, but it's only about a second out at this current ratio. But either way, like I always say, we're not actually able to feed it at the moment. We also clean up the copper outpost as well. This first bit being very fast at 10 times speed. Slightly different editing style to this episode from the last one. No cuts as such in this one. This is just trying out the speeding up certain boring sections that you've already seen. Partly because I wanted to give this a go, you know, instead of using the cutting method, because you get to see everything here, but it's nice and quick. But I'll still use the cutting method, mainly for biter slaying. Plus, I didn't have much time to make this episode today, which I'll go into in a little bit. I have mentioned that a few episodes ago, why I'm trying to get ahead on videos. I'm quite ahead at the moment, but we'll go into that in a little bit. But yeah, again, a bit of a cleanup episode. But last episode, we were obtaining the iron patch up in the northeast, which also gave us access to a number of other resources. It's given us access to 3 copper patches, each around 300k each, coming to a total of just under 1 million. So that's great, but it's not going to last us very long. But at least Copper Outpost 1 is about to die, so that's going to be very handy. It's given us access to another uranium patch and 2 coal patches, potentially 3. But yeah, it's given us access to 2 very big iron patches, another one just north of me here. So this is all sped up as well. I wanted to put in the Madziri train loading station up here at Iron Outpost 3, just to help even out the loading of those chests, just to speed that up a bit. But yeah, we've got plenty of iron coming through. As soon as Iron Outpost 2 is depleted, I'm going to access this other iron patch just north of us here. It's going to get very confusing remembering all the numbers of the iron patches. Anyway, we start laying out the miners for Copper Outpost 2. This one having a little bit of stony on the end, a little bit annoying, but nothing a couple of filter inserters can't fix. So I mess around with that miner on the end just because the one on this row is going to catch it. So we just change those sticking up and we'll run a belt round the edge. And then we fill in the rest of the patch. So once we've got this patch filled in, there's another 2, one southwest of us and then another one south of that. So we'll just probably run in some long belts rather than having multiple stations. But we'll get on with that in a little bit. So I have all the miners laid out, but I realize I don't really have the rest of the stuff I need to get this all sorted. I also remember I didn't actually cover all the deposits on this patch. So we get those clumsily plunked on the end. They won't last very long, but it's just to clear that patch up a little bit. And I just check that those chests are roughly equal. So that Madziri loader, if you don't know, just make sure there's on average the same number of items in every chest. At least I think I've been laying it out correctly. It seems to work okay. And it just means when a train comes along, all the chests have ore in, not just the ones on the end. Yeah, so it kind of speeds up the loading a little bit. I will get some stack inserters in there in a bit because we do need to keep the rate of iron coming in nice and quick. So I come and clean up some nests around here just because we don't want them in the pollution. Plus, I am going to come and tap the other patch at the end of this episode. So we want it all nice and clear, but we'll get on with that in a bit. So we clean up our turrets from that little bit. We are still working on laser turret damage, which is taking a long time. But once we've got that one, I'll probably leave the laser upgrades for a little bit. It's just I wanted to get on with them in case we hit behemoths, and I don't want to be stuck in a situation where I cannot deal with them. So that's why I've gone for high-tech so early. Probably a bit mad going for high-tech before production, but it kind of fits this scenario a bit, I think. We're only on episode 18, and we're already at, what, 0.86 pollution scale, I think we're at. I'm not sure if we check it this episode because there's not really much bite slaying going on. But it has kind of slowed now at a higher level. So yeah, I lay out the station here with a lot more space on either side of the train because I was planning on doing loading on double on both sides, considering the fact there were 3 patches here. Not sure if I'm actually going to use it, but I put it in just in case, just to avoid having to rebuild it if the situation arises where suddenly I am going to use it. And instead of calling a train, I do take the car back. And while we're doing that, we do get an attack down in the southeast bottleneck. And on my way down, I remember I need to come and put this power pole back in that got destroyed last episode. Still very curious why that power pole in particular was destroyed, because they've ignored so many others. But I'm sure it'll become more consistent and more apparent why that's happening. The turrets down there are getting a little bit damaged from, I believe, caravans trying to come through. So I will need to just adjust those edges so there's more turrets engaging the biters when they come in range. Me calling them biters, it's just a thing. I know there's spitters as well. I don't know what to actually call them. There's no proper name for them, is there? I mean, I think everyone just refers to the lot as biters, and then only spitters when it specifically suits the situation. So anyway, I come and grab a load of resources, including some stuff to make a load of sack inserters, because we do need to streamline the copper. Obviously, there's not very much copper coming into the factory at the moment, so we do need to sort that out, just because Iron Outpost 2 is nearly gone, hence why we're setting up these new outposts. And I take the iron train back up, because it's a hell of a lot quicker than a car, and I just leap out quite dangerously. So this bit's sped up again, because, you know, you've seen all this before, and it's just one of the bits I wanted to do just to make this episode up to 20 minutes. So I stick in some crude filtering and storage of the stone in chests. I'll probably have to add some more chests in a bit, but that should be enough to keep up with the rate at the moment. And we get the station laid out with a 4-belt balancer. Just for now, I'll probably increase that when we tap the other deposit in a bit. But at least we get some copper coming through nice and quickly. And again, I get the Madzuri loading in. And at this speed, it's not very tedious watching it being laid out, because this is 10 times speed. So I get the copper train to come here, back to the depot, then to the other station, and leave after 30 seconds, because there's not going to be much copper there. So yeah, it's mainly going to run this one and then pop back there after this one every time, just to go and fill up whatever's there. It's not going to last much longer, that place, and I couldn't really be bothered to make a second copper train, as Copper Outpost 1 is going to die so soon. Yeah, I imagine I'm going to be getting these numbers completely wrong. But we take the train back to the factory so we can grab some more resources and start working on what I wanted to do next in the episode. So I wanted to get some more smelting columns set up for both copper to make up the 4 belts and iron, because we're currently on 3 and it looks a bit odd. I might as well get the 4 in. We've got room for another 4 iron belts, and to be honest, with the way green circuits are going at the moment, I'm thinking of maybe getting another 4 copper belts in as well. So I bring up the 4th belt of copper ore, and we get that into the smelting column I put in a little while ago now, that I never actually bothered to use because I realized I didn't need it yet. So that will feed in there. I actually really like the way this works with the whole 4-belt balancer feeding into 4 smelting columns, because you don't really need it to split off from the ore bus per se to then feed the column, because these smelt a yellow belt perfectly and fully saturate a yellow belt perfectly. So you don't really need to split it off at each smelting thing. You just need the belt to feed it completely, and the balancer can worry about feeding the column. And if you don't have enough ore coming through, then it's not going to work. And solving it is getting more ore. You know, it's not going to be solved by having more splitters or anything like that. So it's quite a nice system, and you don't really need to upgrade these belts to red or even blue until you start getting modules in, unless of course you want to make the smelting columns even longer, which I haven't really left room for, but we'll see how it goes. I'm probably just going to have more and more columns up north with some belt balancers, just balancing them into 4 with some red belt, which should work okay so long as the balancers work okay. But adding more copper smelting really isn't going to fix things at the moment, because we just simply don't have enough copper coming through. I think it sorts itself in a bit once the trains run through from that new station a couple of times. It starts to catch up. But another thing I wanted to do is get the other side of iron unloading done, just because we're using an absurd amount of iron. But I was kind of stuck in thinking about what was the shortfall last episode, which was iron, but it is now copper. So I'm still stuck in fixing old problems. But at least this is now done and it's out of the way. We've got plenty of iron coming through at the moment from the 2 outposts. I think I'm going to have a minimum of 2 outposts of each ore, at least, you know, just to keep up with the current factory. We're probably going to have to increase that even more as we build out more and more. But yeah, as far as the main bus is concerned, at least 2 outposts is required. I'm potentially going to put in the Madzuri unloading, although I see it being less relevant for unloading it as it is for loading. I also move these power poles out of the way because they're just a bit of a mess. At some point, I am going to have a massive tidy up of power poles. Probably not going to make it an episode. I'll have to bite the bullet and make it something in between an episode, or at least cut it up quite a bit. But the power poles really do need tidying up once I decide to move away from basic completely. Don't know if that's ever going to happen for the mining outpost, because I just love the ratio so much of how the basic poles are laid out. But we shall see. So I get another 2 belts of iron in. One I'm going to use just for plain iron smelting, and then once we get production science set up, we can use the other one for steel. And I completely cock up this bit here using a grenade to clear those trees, completely not anticipating the blast radius and damaging loads of belts. What an idiot. So anyway, I clear the rest of the trees up manually, obviously, because I don't want to be using any more repair packs, because that's just stupid, blowing up your belts with resources, then fixing them with resources. So we're going to have to get a smelting column in for stone bricks at some point when I do the production science. Don't know when that's actually going to be. I'm probably going to have to sit down before recording next episode and see exactly where I want to go with science, if I need to do or want to do production anytime soon. Because I kind of want to get on with bots soon, but I also want to get on with uranium stuff, so we'll see. I think we've got all the science we need for at least getting on with the basic sorting of uranium, because we need to get enough 235 for the Kovrak stuff. So I'll probably do that next episode, but we'll have a look and see if we can actually do it. I also want to get rid of this automated production column as well and get it replaced by bots just doing everything in a nice area for me, because it just makes everything in one area and it's always nice. But I think I'm going to need uranium power to power the amount of bots I'm thinking of. The amount of coal we'd need would be absurd, and plus uranium is just insanely more efficient than coal. Once you've got enough uranium for the Kovrak's process, it's kind of, you don't really need that much uranium coming through to feed the whole thing, and I think it's just going to make a lot of sense with the amount of power we're using for lasers and all that. So yeah, I think I've just gone and done the thinking process right there and decided we're going to go for uranium pretty soon, or at least the basic processing. See if I can get that in next episode. I don't know. See how the copper's running after this, and see how much more effort I need to put into the actual copper process. So I've also just realized I don't really need to be using as many underground belts here as I am, because the belts can just run in. We're not going to be having 4 running through those gaps anyway, so I could probably save a lot of iron here. I do have a bit of a shortage of underground belts, and I also realized that doing it along here, we do have an attack that distracts me, but it's just a radar from a base being placed, so I'm going to ignore that for now. I've also just noticed a power pole I've not placed there. I think I don't even notice it, but I notice I can save a lot of underground belts by reversing which part actually uses the underground belt, which, you know, is kind of obvious now, but yeah, at the time wasn't immediately apparent. But I didn't have enough on me, and then I realized I could save loads by putting this in correctly. So I tidy all this up a bit, saving us a load of underground belts, and then hopefully a bit of iron as well. But we bring down, we finally have 4 inputs of iron as well. I just bring it up so far along the bus, or was that just with the copper? Yeah, I only bring the copper up to the green circuit production, because that is why the green circuits are currently short, because there's just not enough copper coming down. But the iron I bring down at least to that balancer, but in a bit I think I do extend it some more. But it is nice to see 4 full yellow belts of iron coming through. That's quite nice. That should hopefully speed science up quite a bit. I just have a check around on the map as well, just to check everything, keep an eye on things. We still have enough storage for stone, but I think towards the end of the episode we do actually fill those 2 chests up, so I am going to have to go and sort that out. Another thing that needs sorting is a number of biter bases have popped up right next to the factory, so another thing on my list of things to deal with after doing the post commentary for this episode. So I spend a little bit more time messing around with the main bus, putting in some splitters randomly, then realizing that I could do a much better job of this, and yeah, I just clear a load of space for a proper balancer. So we stick in a 4-belt balancer, leaving those last 2 splitters in because I'm paranoid about the throughput issue. This is early on the bus and I don't want any throughput issues, even though I probably shouldn't get any so long as I lay stuff out evenly. I still don't get it. I don't know why I keep bringing this up every single time I use one. I should probably just shut up. So I extend the green circuit production because we're now using those full yellow belts. I did put in a second yellow belt. I think it was outside of recording in last episode when I was doing the cut style. I think I accidentally cut out where I put that in, but you can see it. It's just basically a second belt of copper coming in. Just there you can see it splitting on. I do move the splitters at some point after where they split off, not before, because that's just kind of creating a little bit of a bottleneck. But yeah, this next sort of section of green circuits will definitely mean we're using over a single yellow belt of copper, maybe even 2. Maybe if I put in a 4th section, that'll be definitely 4 belts of copper we can use in this area, because we need a lot of green circuits, most of them going into the purple circuits, the production units. And I'm thinking maybe I should actually be producing the green circuits directly into the purple circuits or the production units. I'm gonna try and call them production units so we don't go into the whole blue purple thing. But yeah, because we need so many there, it might make more sense to make them on site. It's just I can see that area being stupidly long due to the number of production unit assemblers we need, and the fact that I need 5 copper cable assemblers per single green circuit assembler. To do that on site kind of seems a bit mental. I also clear up my odd number of underground belts. I don't know how long that's been like that. I think I may have put an odd number back in the chest production, and then I've gone and picked it back up when I've come to pick up more. I don't know where I've lost that odd number of underground belts, so I decided to just shoot it and just be done with it. And we finally extend the 4th belt of iron all the way down to the end, just having all those splitters on the end just so they can all feed off down into the production for blue science. I think there's cogs for blue science. But yeah, as you can see, we need a huge amount of resources just to produce 6 assemblers worth of green circuits, thanks to the expensive recipe setting. So yeah, I need to probably make green circuits down at the purple circuit production area, but I'm also considering starting my first outpost and making green circuits somewhere else. So maybe finding somewhere where there's both iron and copper, directly smelting it there and just making green circuits there, laying out in a way that's not limited by the main bus, and then having a station in the depot just for green circuits and getting that loading onto 4 belts onto the main bus. I think that would be quite nice, or maybe not even taking it to the main bus and just starting outposts altogether. So anyway, I come down and recycle the miners from copper outpost 1. God, I'm even saying iron instead of copper. This is getting quite a tongue twister. It's extra fun with my inability to talk quite fluently. Don't doubt it. There's a hell of a lot of editing that goes into this post commentary, because my speech is fantastic. I'm so good at saying whatever I want to on cue. No sarcasm implied in the slightest. Anyway, enough rambling about that. I've been going around collecting loads and loads of resources to get a bunch of stack inserters produced, because I want to increase the throughput of copper. I know we're probably not mining it fast enough just yet, but these are things that we can recycle. In the depot, obviously it's needed quite a lot because we're going to have more and more trains coming in here. But also, if I stick them out in an outpost and then that outpost is depleted, I can then go and use them at another outpost, basically. So we just wait for the last 6 to be made. I picked up a huge amount of iron just because I keep running out at times and it's getting quite annoying. So currently my inventory is very full, dropping a load of items on the floor just while I rearrange the order in which we're making stuff, just so I can get these 6 done a bit quicker. And we hop into the copper train to address the last agenda of this episode, which is just to tap that other copper patch. But don't worry, it's at 10 times speed, so it won't take too long. It's nice and sped up from about now. Here we go. Yep. So we just start off by clearing out the biters, which you've all seen before, and then we get laying out of the outpost. Anyway, so I can get on with what I've been meaning to talk about a few episodes. I'm trying to get ahead on episodes, so apologies if any of my actions in the last few episodes contradict any comments recently. I do like to take advice off people watching and act accordingly in the episode. But I've had to try and get ahead in this week. I'm starting a new job basically next week. At the moment, I've just been doing part-time work, bits of jobs here and there to pay the bills and whatnot. But I kind of need to get a proper job. So next week on Monday, I start a 12-month contract full-time. So I'm going to have a lot less time to work on episodes. But I've got ahead so that I can brace myself and see if I can keep up with my current schedule of making episodes. If I can't, then I'm going to have to cut down the amount of episodes coming out each week, but it means when I actually do sit down at the weekend to make the week's episodes, I'm probably going to put a bit more quality into them because there's going to be less of them, so I want them to be better. But we'll see. Maybe I'll be able to keep up with the schedule and no one will notice at all. I just thought I'd give anyone who watches this regularly a heads up, just so when the episodes start coming out a bit slower, that's why, because I still need to pay the bills to live and whatnot. But yeah, it's a 12-month contract, so yeah. it's just for 12 months, basically. That's what 12-month contract usually means. Anyway, we get a really horrible 6-4 belt balance, 8-4. It's 8-4 belt balancer in, which I really don't like. They also come and clear this base here because it's a bit dangerously close to the track. But yeah, I just leave that balancer in for the copper in the meantime anyway, because it's really not going to take us very long to mine 300k patches. And we just come to the copper unloading depot just to check the absolute overkill of belt balancing I've done. I know I don't need all that there, but hey, I kind of like the way it looks, so we're going to have it in anyway. And we lose our first laser turret down in the southeast to the defenses for power. Anyway, that's going to be all we have time for this episode. I do hope you have enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and please do come and join me in the next episode. Bye-bye.